So does it work? That was the first attempt, and since then there's probably been attempts every year. So every year you get papers published on this topic, and for every paper that is published, you probably get 10 or 20 papers that don't get published. People who tried but didn't even manage to publish anything. And they looked at different ways to introduce dependence. And the sad thing is you never get any consistent improvements out of these attempts. So you only get sort of promising results type papers. So what's going on? It seems like 1977 was a long time ago, and it's plenty of time to find a workable approach to a good idea. And this seems like a good idea. Like modeling dependencies is a really good thing in all the fields that are adjacent to search engines, right? So you ask any natural language processing guy, is it good to model dependence between the words? And they'll start jumping up and down, and they'll be very adamant about it. Right? In some fields, you get nowhere if you don't model dependencies between the words. So if you try to recognize speech, and you try to do it with a unigram model without a Markov chain, without a language model, good luck. You're never going to get anywhere. If you try to do machine translation and you don't have a language model, you don't condition word on other words, you're going to get gibberish as output. So in those fields, it's absolutely critical to model dependencies. And here you have a field that for 3 decades hasn't been able to make it work. So what's going on? Now, one possible explanation for what's going on is in those other fields, so the field of speech recognition or the field of machine translation, the task involves producing new strings of text. Right? So in speech recognition, you get a waveform, somebody recorded their voice, and the goal is to produce a transcript. A transcript is a new string of text. It's something that you haven't seen before. And that string better be grammatical. And that's why you need word dependencies in speech recognition. Same thing in machine translation. I give you a sentence in Swahili, you want to come out with a translation into English. That translation could be completely new, you might have never seen it before, but it still needs to be grammatical. In information retrieval, you are dealing always with strings that are already well formed. Right? Documents were already written by humans, and queries are written by humans as well. So you don't really need to waste your probability space on trying to make them well formed, and that's what dependency models do in some way. So that's one possible explanation for why it doesn't work. You're wasting your probability space, your parameter space, on things that you don't need. They're not really part of the task. Another explanation, and this is slightly controversial, is that the model itself really doesn't assume independence. Now you look at it and you say, wait, we did. You remember that assumption, right? We very explicitly assumed independence. So what we showed is that independence is a sufficient condition, but is it a necessary condition? So could you come up with a weaker assumption that is sufficient to derive the model?